Frank Warren, your boy. Did you ever work for Frank?
I worked on Frank's shows.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say your old boss, but you never worked for him.
I never worked for him. I worked on Frank shows. I worked on about 4 or 5 Frank shows.
Yeah.
I worked alongside Dev. I remember Dev Sani before, like when he was just doing like the interviews, like for social media. Like before they even were. This was when he just got the TNT deal. So it was kind of early days for them, Queensbury, like in the new wave. You know what I'm saying, in terms of like social media.
They're on the new wave now because they're proper officially joined DAZN. It was always going to happen. They've been putting their fighters on DAZN shows.
It's interesting. It's funny that you say that, bro. Mad funny that you say that. Because I actually think I worked on the first TNT show that they ever had. Like, I think I worked on the first TNT show that they ever had. And I definitely worked on their first TNT show that they had behind closed doors during COVID. The first one that they had when it was in the bubble, I worked in the bubble. That was the first one. So, like, it's mad to see their transition and to see where they are now. So, yeah, bro. Shout out to Frank. Even though you had to eat humble pie and realize that the future is streaming.
Yeah.
And boxing on an
Who wants to fight on an app?
Who wants to fight on an app?
That was the famous quote from Frank Warren.
I mean, we have a video speaking about him signing we have a video, but I think what this is probably my question, and I guess the topic of debate would be, like, what does this mean for boxing in the UK? Because in America, we've had two promotional companies on DAZN. Eddie was in there and Eddie was doing it and Oscar was doing it. And with Oscar, he's obviously got the Latino fan base. Eddie was pretty much trying to just
colonize the black people.
Yeah, he was, because he had bare black fighters, Andrade, Jacob, Devin Haney, etc. You know, so he was doing that. What does it mean now? Because the market for America, there's a lot of fighters. You know what I'm saying? To build a platform on. They built on Canelo, Golovkin, Danny Jacobs, that middleweight division, and obviously you had AJ go over there, Devin Haney, etc. What does it mean now? You know what I'm saying? Like, what does it mean now? Because the British boxing stable's quite weak. How many stars do we actually have? So having 2 promotional companies in the UK, what's the benefit of it?
I think it's good for heavyweight boxing, the UK.
But you just signed with Frank, so what's the point of having Eddie? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm DAZN, what's the point of me renewing Eddie Hearn's contract in the UK if I've already got Frank in the UK? Do you know what I'm saying? If Frank's got all the stable in the UK...
But I think it's clear that with Turkey coming in, they're trying to break down those barriers, right? And get as many cross-promotional fights as happening as possible. I mean, that just opens up way more doors. Because then you've got... Because especially like a heavyweight, like we said, Frank's got the up and coming heavyweights. He's got the Wardleys, he's got Atoma, he's got these guys like David Adley,
Richie
Riakporhe, like these man,
Lawrence
Okoli, they can mix it up. Do you know what I'm saying? I think Frank and Eddie both being on the same platform is good because, like you say, we're gonna get more British/American.
But what does it mean for Eddie though? Because like the reason why I say it, and maybe I should have rephrased it. When I look at Eddie Hearn's stable, I look at Conor Ben. He's gonna lose his next
Britain,
fight.
you mean?
Yeah, in Britain. Not in America. Okay. Eddie Hearn's stable in America is actually really good.
Yeah.
In Britain, they've just signed Frank. Now, when you
I don't think they're thinking about it like that. That's the difference. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they're thinking about it in those terms though.
No, but you're spending money, my G. You're giving. Remember, everybody has a certain amount of dates. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I give you a certain amount of money for a certain amount of dates. You provide a certain amount of shows. I'm giving Eddie a certain amount of money. And he's got to provide me a certain amount of shows on DAZN.
Yeah.
When I look at his stable, I see Shakur Stevenson, I see Jerron Ennis, I see George Kambosos.
But even before Frank signed, Eddie's been doing international shows. That's going to stay the same.
I hear you, but why would I renew? Why would I give you those dates to have in England? That's what I'm saying. Your stable isn't like that.
He might not have many dates for England.
Okay, then this is bringing me to my next point. So do you think, when you've looked at Eddie Hearn's recent behaviour, he hasn't invested a lot of money in the UK?
Yeah.
And he's invested a lot of money in the States.
Yeah.
When he's signing all of these American fighters that he signed recently, do you think he's almost preempted that call? Bun England, let Frank have England and I'll stick to America? Or is he like, I'm just going to juggle both?
I think he'll try and juggle both. There's some rumours of Frank Smith looking at retiring.
I heard about that
and
as well.
leaving Matchroom. So that's an interesting situation. But I think that he will try and juggle both. The thing is,
but he doesn't have the stable in UK to do that. Though.
I understand that, but the thing is, though, he's got certain weight classes that he tries to take ownership of. So if you are an up and coming guy at 175, you're gonna need to chat to Eddie.
But not in the UK though.
I understand that, but when you get to world level, you're gonna have to chat to me. So, you know what I'm saying? So while you're on the come up to British and European level, that's cool. That's the Eddie's a money man. That's little man money to him. That Frank would rather make $1 million by doing 50 200 grand shows.
Yeah.
Eddie would rather make $1 million by doing 2 500
grand. Yeah, because that's Eddie. Eddie doesn't love boxing like Frank does. Yeah. Eddie openly says he ain't doing this when he's 70.
Yeah, so that's the difference, and I think that's what his business model shows. I'll go and get Keyshawn Davis. I'll go and get Bivol. I'll go and get Shakur. I'll go and get these elite guys. And listen, when you're Sam Noakes, up and coming British, great. And when you're Moses Atoma, up and coming British, great. And when you man want to step up from British level to world level and elite level, you got to come chat to me.
But the issue is there isn't any world level fighters in this country. Name me.
That's why he's letting it go.
Okay, true.
If there was somebody that was world level, we could have a conversation.
Yeah, hey, when he had
who's got more world champions, Eddie or Frank?
Eddie.
So he ain't sweating. He ain't sweating the UK. If the UK suddenly hits some massive stride and everyone starts doing really well and top talents coming out of the UK and all of a sudden, then we'll have a conversation.
Yeah, hey.
Do you know what I'm saying? But until that time,
because if you look at it like if you go through the weight classes, Usyk's the best at heavy, but cruiserweight he's got Opataya.
Yep.
That's a foreign fighter. He's got Bivol.
Yep.
That's a foreign fighter. Yep. He's got he just had Matchroom, he lost his strap, but he's got Jerome Boots Ennis, Shakur Stevenson, Richardson Hitchens, Andy Cruz. Yep. He's got Jesse Bam Rodriguez. Yep. Like he's got elite fighters. Not one of them that I've just mentioned is English. Yeah. But I get your point. Maybe he's looking at maybe there is, because forget what Eddie has.
I think one of the things that Eddie's best at, in my opinion, is judging talent. I think he judges and prices talent really, really well.
Well, better than flipping Ben Shalom.
I think better than Frank. I think if someone's up and coming in Britain, Frank wants them.
Yeah, facts.
But I don't think that I don't think his team is as good at assessing who's going to be the next.
But I think because Frank's been in the game for so long and he's never even wanted to cross the pond.
Yeah.
Whereas Eddie's like, I want to be the best in the world. I want to be the best in the UK.
DAZN is a global platform.
Facts.
Do you know what I'm saying? There's like he's taking American fighters to fight in Saudi Arabia. Mm-hmm. Man never thought this would happen. You struggle to get American fighters to fight out of America. If they do fight out of America, they fight in Britain.
Facts.
When do you see American fighters traveling to Ukraine or Russia?
He said he's trying to he's bringing Kambosos over to Australia. He's putting a big investment into Australian boxing. We already know what he's done in America. And you could be right, because if you remove Eddie, just let's be in general, there probably ain't much world level British fighters in period. Forget Eddie's stable, any stable. You think Nick Bull maybe, Daniel Dubois. Well, how many world level fighters are there in Britain?
Yep.
So he probably said, you know what, why would I go for Britain when I could just I'd rather sign Shakur Stevenson than flipping.
Well, if I sign Shakur and he gets an extra belt or two, everybody has to come and grovel to me.
And I get big money if he fights a tank. Yeah. I get big money.
He's got Josh Padley.
Yeah, he does.
Do you know what I mean? So I think that's what it is. I think that's the play. Do you know what I mean? And he'll float around, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? He'll come back to the UK. He'll come back to... People always end up doing deals with him. Mm-hmm. They always end up doing deals with him. Do you know what I'm saying?
I mean...
Billy Joe Saunders never thought he'd do a deal with Eddie Hearn.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So...
Thanks. I think he's actually been quite... He's let a lot of British fighters go. He let Josh Warrington go. Yeah. He let... What's my man's name? Lee Wood go. Yeah. He's let... Obviously, all of them black fighters.
That's towards the end, though. Them man were always coming towards the end.
But Lawrence Okoli, Joshua Boatsi, all of them.
He overpriced them.
You mean Ben Shalom?
Eddie priced them about right, and they priced themselves over. Facts. But none of them have gone on to be successful.
None of them.
He's got Callum Smith.
Yeah, facts. He does.
Do you know what I'm saying? So if there's elite fighters in Britain,
but that's what you said, 175, innit?
Yeah. If there's elite fighters, I'll chat to you. But if you're not elite right now, he's marketed himself as like, okay, cool, Frank is the championship and I'm the Prem. So that's cool.
And right now, there's no one that's qualified for Prem.
There's no one that's qualified for Prem here.
Yeah, probably Nick Bull. That's the only one.
Do you know what I mean? The fringe guys, there's guys on the fringes, but do you know what I mean?
I hate
that's just what it is. While we're on the topic of boxing as well, rest in peace to George Foreman. Obviously, boxing lost.
Yeah, bro.
You know why? Yeah. I've spoken to like 3 people that didn't know that he was a boxer. They just know him from Lean, Mean, Fat, Grilling Machine.
Yeah, I mean, with for me, it's quite different. Like our love for boxing. Some people genuinely love for boxing come from Anthony Joshua era. Like Anthony Joshua's era, mine didn't. And growing up, George Foreman was real different because for us, it was like, for those who don't know, like his wife is Jamaican. He won his heavyweight title in Jamaica. Do you know what I'm saying? So it was like, growing up, I actually remember people who were at the fight. Like there's people who I know who went to the fight in Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? Who they like, if I wish my dad was saying, he'd tell you about like their whole environment of him being in Jamaica and that whole, you know what I'm saying, Joe Frazier. And we've never had a world heavyweight fight since then. Yeah. We haven't had a title fight in Jamaica since then. You know what I'm saying? So
there's only been one heavyweight champion since then, right?
Well,
that's Jamaican. That's Jamaican.
Lennox Lewis.
Nah. My man that Tyson.
Trevor Burby.
Trevor Burby.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's my point, fam. Like, boxing for us is like, and George Foreman for me, it's a different closeness. I don't know him personally, and I guess that's partially why it hurt me, because like I really got into boxing journalism because I really wanted to meet these guys. I really wanted to say, like, to almost ask them questions about their life. There's a lot of people I think there was in one of the early videos we done, you asked me if there's anyone I really want to interview. And I said, the person I want to interview the most is Don King, more than anyone. But it's those eras that really got me into boxing. Even though I wasn't around that George Foreman time, you know, but for me, he was a massive contributing factor to my love for the sport, you know. And I guess all I want to say is thank you, innit? Like he was a really big, like the level of gratitude that I have towards
so many things that are legendary about George Foreman. Just his size and strength at his time. I know he's about 6'2", about Usyk size, but a lot bigger of a man. You know, not a massive heavyweight by today's standards, but of that era,
big.
The big boogeyman of that era, very, very strong. Before Wilder came along, most people were saying that George Foreman is probably the hardest hitter.
I would still say that.
And most people probably still say he's one of the he's definitely top 5 hardest punchers of all time that we've ever seen. He boxed in what was like the hardest era of boxing. And when I say the hardest era, if we go too far back, there's a lot of times where the white fighters wouldn't fight the black fighters, so I discount some of those guys. And once we get past the 60s, 70s, 80s is the greatest.
60s, 70s, definitely.
Do you know what I'm saying? We're never getting that back.
Fact.
Ever again. Because life in general, for the hardest life you can live in 2025 is still easier than the hardest life you could have lived in the 50s.
And even some people make the argument that, well, another great boxing era was the 90s. My man boxed in the 90s and won a world heavyweight.
He won, was he 50 years old?
Yeah, exactly.
Won a heavyweight title at 50 years old. Like, we saw Mike Tyson could barely stand up, but he was 65. But he could barely stand up against
a YouTuber.
But just stand up generally, like on his own. Like, literally, if there's no one else in the ring, like you've got to look at that. Like, you know, we look at Andre Ward, who keeps himself in great shape, and Crawford, who keeps himself in great shape, and these guys will be retired by 35, 40. I know Crawford's 38 now, but by 40.
I think Ward retired at 35.
Yeah, so that's why I said 35 for Ward, but probably 40 for Crawford. And these are like great athletic specimens. To go and win a world title at 50 is just insane. And he boxed, somebody that is considered mostly by most fans globally to be the greatest boxer of all time, in Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
And
Rumble in the Jungle. Iconic, bro.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, rest in peace to him. Rest in peace to Colin Hart as well. I actually seen him a couple of times in shows, like when I used to go do boxing journalism. Never actually spoke to him, but I used to see him. So shout out to Colin Hart. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace to Colin Hart as well. Everyone's saying really positive words about him and real good boxing knowledge. And someone I appreciate, you've got to give people flowers while they're alive.
Facts.
Is Adam Smith.
No, facts. He's one of my favourites. He's one of my favourites. For me, he's the British. He's the voice of British boxing.
He's the guy. He's one of the people I love to have on the show the most. Yeah, I think he's one of the most knowledgeable people.
We don't even interview people. Like we make an effort not to interview people, but he's one of the people that I would actually.
He's just very good.
Yeah, fact.
And people talk. You know, he even when he was the head of British boxing at Sky, he was biased towards Sky fighters, of course, but he was as close to honesty as you were going to get.
Certain people's
and
voice.
It was really great also when Sky first ended the contract with Eddie before they picked up this contract with Boxer, because he was just great. He just,
his voice brings me back to like certain memories that I had when I was younger. And it was like, I remember when that they used to do he used to do that show with Johnny Nelson. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's certain things that I remember. Like, I remember Goals on Sunday and then watching the American fights and his voice being on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was, bro, trust me, like.
Yeah, so I just think it's important to appreciate those people while they're here. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, like we say, we've lost Colin Hart, lived a very long, full life, and
trust me,
and George Foreman as well.
I mean, we do something similar to, like, in terms of reporting and boxing, but in terms of the legendary status that comes with Colin Hart,
we don't travel around you travel around the world going to gyms and stuff like that, but generally, like, we're sitting here on YouTube, it's a lot easier than what it would have been in Colin Hart's time of packing up your equipment, traveling around the world, following these fighters, building the relationships, all of those kind of things. Like, there's so much more to it. We are really in the digital way at the easier end of that. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, rest in peace to those people. How do you feel George Foreman would have fared in today's heavyweight scene? I think he beats everybody bar one.
I mean, he definitely would have. A prime Foreman would have. He would have given everyone. He probably would have been the best. He probably would have been the best.
I think he beats Usyk. Prime Usyk?
Yeah, I think he does.
Think so?
Yeah, I think he beats a prime Usyk.
I think Usyk's the only one that can beat him.
No, I don't think so.
The same. Usyk's the same size, you know.
No, but bro, the physical strength of Foreman. And what people don't understand is Foreman, for a big man, was probably one of the best fighters at cutting off the ring. Bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Foreman's chin.
Yeah.
Bro. Like,
he would have had the best chin in the heavyweight division today.
Huh?
He would have had the best chin.
He would have the best chin. He would have the most power.
Yeah, the best chin, the most power.
He would have the best chin, the most power. As you said, them man are built different, bro. Them man are built different.
Remember the story about him holding because he's country strong.
Yeah.
So have you heard the story about him holding the cow?
No.
Where he was on a stage, he was holding the cow, doing a cow holding competition, something they do in the South in America, and the stage collapsed. And when all the dust and rubble settled and stuff, he was just standing there holding the cow on his shoulders.
Man,
he's just freakishly strong. Freakishly strong.
Trust me.
I do think him and Usyk would have been a fight I would have loved. But in terms of AJ, Dubois, someone was arguing with me on social media earlier about Tyson Fury. He would have obliterated Tyson Fury. He would have obliterated Tyson Fury.
Bro, Tyson Fury got dropped by Nevin Package, bro. Tyson Fury got dropped by Ngannou. Yeah. Bro, no, you're not. Are you mad?
He got dropped by he got dropped by Steve. He got dropped by Steve Cunningham. George Foreman.
My man said Happy New Year, bro. Allow it.